When do you think that video game collecting officially became a legitimate hobby? Are we like car or ham radio collectors?
A legitimate hobby?
Are there ham radio collectors or ham radio operators?
Ham radio enthusiasts.
Enthusiasts.
I would argue, some could argue that in the late 90s, Atari collecting became a big thing. But I would say that, as much as I don't like to, I think video game collecting became a legitimate hobby when people started to go for full sets of NES games, because it was acquirable, and at the time that people started to do it, it was still relatively reasonably priced.
So like mid-2000s? 2005?
No. I would say 98, 99.
You go that far? Okay.
Yeah.
Even if it was a very small group, they were still trying to do it.
Yes, and
Okay.
I do think that that's when collecting got pretty big. You also had...
well, to them, it wasn't a tenth of what it was now.
No, it's not, but I still think that legitimized the hobby, because
Okay.
back that was when you first started to see message boards pop up that
Okay.
that revolved around collecting of rare
It's
titles.
not size, but you're talking about how strident the fans of it were and getting out there.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go. I'm going to probably go a little bit past you, but I can see what you're talking about. But it depends on what do you call legitimate? Do you call legitimate when you have grading coming into it?
Oh, I mean, that obviously furthers it as a hobby.
Do you call it legitimate when companies start making old controllers and old accessories in order to be able to carry on playing these systems that are 20 years old or 25 years old? You could consider that legitimate when there's lots of money being put into an industry. Does that legitimize it? Does it legitimize it when you have when people and scumbags know enough about it to start trying to scam people out of it? Like,
I
does
think
that
the
make it
difference.
legitimate?
I think the difference is legitimate or mainstream.
Okay, that's what you're looking at. Okay.
Yeah, I think legitimate is when people start making rarity guides in the late 90s and start talking about...
Oh, that's a good point.
And making
Mike Etler's
trades.
Rarity Guide? Okay.
Yeah, Mike Etler's Rarity Guide is kind of where it starts for me. I think by the time you start talking about reproduction controllers, scumbags trying to rip people off, I think that's when you're talking about when it hits mainstream.
Versus legitimate in your eyes.
Yes.
That's sort of a fair assessment. It's just interesting that I usually say the blow-up point was like 2006. That's when I like to say it started really going up like geometrically from being a very small portion of video gamers. But you could be right. Late 90s, TSR, NES Archive. I was on that site looking at it.
The NES message board.
People started archiving stuff.
Yeah.